Right, welcome to the Ravit Show. We are here at Google Next, and look who I have with me, Ed Anuff, Chief Product Officer at DataStax. Ed, welcome to the Ravit Show.
Great to see you again.
Yes, I'm kind of super excited to chat with you because I know DataStax has been making a few announcements lately, also in the Vertex AI. So would love to know a little about that, and also would love to know a little about what's your read of Google Next this year.
Sure, happy to do that. Yeah, it's been a great event. This is huge.
Yeah.
I remember chatting with you last year on it, and look how much bigger it is. It's crazy. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
Good. So a lot of great announcements. It's great to see that all the things that Google has been rolling forward in terms of AI support. That's the main theme here, I think, at the conference. And as you pointed out, we are doing a bunch of stuff with Vertex AI.
Right.
Vertex AI search extensions and just extensions overall. It's real. What I think is happening here is last year everybody was really interested in, okay, how do I get these models and how do I run them? Where do they sit? Which cloud provider, has access to them? Who has access to the GPUs and all that? But a year later, it's all about how do we build with this and what the software stack looks like. And so that's what you're hearing about here is that's what Vertex is about. That's a lot of the stuff we're doing here. It's about the AI stack. So I think that's the stuff that people need to be looking at is what are people building with this and what are companies delivering that's making it easier to build those applications.
Right. It's interesting that you mentioned about that. I'm also kind of hearing, like when you talk about types of integrations, I have a question around what challenges are developers facing right now building generative AI applications, because that's something which is challenging, but at the same time it's happening.
Oh, I mean, it's happening all the time. So, when we look at how a GenAI app is built right now, so the most common pattern people use is RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation.
Right.
And the idea there is I'm going to take the user's input, I'm going to combine it with data.
True.
Data that I have, data that I may have collected from other sources, data from APIs. A lot of that sits in the database.
Right.
That's really important. That's what the grounding comes from. So when you go and ask the model to do something, you want it to go and give you the answer with a source of known good data. Mm-hmm. Typically that's your data, right? And doing that is a lot of development work,
right?
And so that's a lot of what we're seeing now in the AI stack is how do I do that development work? There's ingestion, there's orchestration, there's context curation, and that's a big deal. That's actually one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was. Last week we announced the acquisition of a company called Langflow.
Langflow, right?
Exactly, and what that's all about is going and automating, really making dead simple this process of bringing together all of this data, bringing it to the LLM, and then being able to do interesting things with it, like give it to the user, create a chat memory history, all of this stuff. And actually, we have it up on the screen over here. What Langflow is all about is actually letting you take all of those steps, and I'm not sure how well this will carry over to the camera, but each one of these boxes is a step that could represent thousands of lines of code previously, and now you just go and say, okay, I want my chat input with the user types, I want to combine it with my prompt, I want to feed it to OpenAI, I want to give it back to the user, but along the way I want my chat memory, the entire history, and I want to feed it in AstraDB.
Oh,
right? And so now you can see, that's why this was super interesting for us, because this whole thing here, you can just do this in 10 minutes. And
exactly.
We've been working with developers for the last year, actually. I did. Last time when I talked to you, we've just been starting with all this stuff. We have over 150,000 developers who have signed up for Astra just to build these types of apps. And so building this stuff, like your point, people are building it, absolutely, huge amount of developers building it.
Yeah, and I've been hearing a lot of announcements lately around, building apps for sure. And do you have any cool examples of GenAI apps developers are building with DataStax? Anything that you would like to share on top of your mind?
Well, we see a ton of stuff. So the cool thing is that any situation where you've got to go and combine your information and create some sort of intelligent recommendations is very easy to do. So, so some of the ones that we've talked about, and one of the things I'll say is a lot of experimentation going on, but we've got people, that are doing vacation planning. We have people that are doing financial recommendations. We have people that are doing. I think I talked to you last time. Actually, I don't think they'd launched yet. Physics Walla.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Physics Wala, I know.
Exactly.
Shed actually spoke about it when I met him at NVIDIA GTC.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes,
No,
exactly.
it's amazing stuff. And a lot of the startups are just doing the coolest stuff because they're getting it out there.
Right.
And Physics Walla is a great example. All of the lesson plans, the tests, and all of that, GenAI created. Right. So you think about that, like if you wanted to create an educational startup, you need to create so much content,
Right.
and all of that, and being able to use GenAI for that. Really using all the same processes we talked about, because they have the existing source data,
Right.
and so on. But being able to generate and combine and create different types of stuff, that's the essence of, is where a lot of the efforts have gone in the past. That's
True.
why breaking into doing an educational startup has historically been a very hard thing to do because the amount of content that has to be generated. So these guys are kicking ass with that.
Totally. And in terms of, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of even enterprise leaders who are wanting to learn more about, okay, what's the AI apps game? Tell us more about it. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think that the interesting thing is that the enterprises are, first piece of it is you sort of need to figure out where your Gen AI project sits. Believe it or not,
Right.
This is easy for a startup because startup, it's simple, like we're all working on, right?
Right.
But the difference between a startup and enterprise is that a lot of it comes down to figuring out which teams, which skills, who should carry this forward, who's closest to the business, objective.
Right.
And what we've seen has been that a lot of enterprises have struggled because they've initially gone and said, oh, my Gen AI efforts need to be part of my machine learning teams, right? Because you think about it, well, I was doing predictive AI and generative AI, it's still AI, right? And the difference is actually most of the cool things that are happening in Gen AI are being built by software developers. Just people out there going and writing Python code, writing, JavaScript, just building these apps. Like, yes, it's important to understand how this stuff works under the hood.
Yes.
We are past the part where we sit around and just talk about the models. Like,
Right.
I love talking about that stuff, but generally, like when I'm having a conversation with somebody, the way I sort of figure out like how real is it for them is, are they talking about the frameworks? Are they talking about, should I be building in Python or JavaScript is like one of the big questions most developers ask me.
Right.
That's where I can tell they're really hands-on on that, right?
Yeah.
It's a simple question, but it tells a lot.
Yeah, no, I think those are great insights, Ed. And also, one quick question for our viewers who are watching. Who's sitting at home, who are at Google Next. What are your thoughts? What's next in the future of Gen AI, but also the vector, the RAG space?
Well, so I think that, let me talk about that last part. So vector databases are really cool. Obviously, we love it, Astra. We are one of the most popular vector databases out there, but there's a lot of good ones. We're very happy with how our developers have been succeeding with it. We actually, in a couple of weeks, we will be talking about some new SDKs that we're making available.
Right, wow.
So stay tuned for that.
Yes.
But the interesting thing there is that it's not about sort of the vector database anymore. It is about the RAG platform. And so that's what you see from us, and you're seeing it from some other people as well.
Right.
Because it's about building an application. And so a lot of what we're doing, that's why we did the Langflow stuff, that's, it's all about going and saying, okay, like now is the time to build, now is the time to deliver applications, let's get this stuff out there.
Right.
Last year, everybody said last year was the year of experimentation. I think this year is the year of iteration. Yeah, build it, get it out there, get the feedback, improve it, keep going. That's what app building looks like, and that's what we need.
Yes, it's
Right?
about trying and testing, and then
Exactly.
obviously getting more into the depth of it, and then building something very cool.
Yep.
So that's awesome, Ed. It is always such a pleasure to chat
It's
with
great
you.
seeing you. Great chatting.
Yes, and just for our audience, if they want to reach out to you, what's the best place?
Sure. Well, so obviously on all the social media channels, but datastax.com, I encourage everybody to check it out. We've got a lot of stuff for people that are trying to learn about this stuff and get started.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing, and thanks for your time, Ed.
Great seeing you.
Yes, thank you very much.